What's better than a dragster with one massively powerful engine? One with 4 engines, of course. What else? That's right, folks. In the 1960s, a Hollywood star turned drag racer went on to create one of the craziest speed machines the world had ever seen, and it had 2 sets of engines. Today, we're going to tell you the story of Tommy Ivo and the showboat Dragster, and if you are a drag racing history buff just like us, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel right now. Born on the 18th of April 1936, TV Tommy Ivo's career began at an early age in the early 1940s, going to archive prominence with notable performances in movies like I Remember Mama, The Lost Volcano, Prejudice, and Plymouth Adventures. His acting antics continued into the 50s, going on to appear in the popular TV show Lone Ranger, while Instant Ivo would continue to prosper in his career as a prominent Hollywood actor by appearing in over 100 movies and 200 TV shows in his career. He would pick up a hobby in the 1950s that would go on to cement his name in the history books. In an era where the performance of dragsters took prominence over looks, Tommy Ivo made sure that his cars looked as good as they performed. He was a showman after all. He took part in drag racing events all over the nation throughout the 1950s, going on to achieve his first big win with a 1955 Buick by setting a new track record and winning its class on the same outing. Ivo's first purpose-built race car was a modified Model T Roadster with a tuned Buick engine under the hood, which would go undefeated in its class and even make several movie appearances alongside its famous owner. This success made Ivo catch the racing bug, which would eventually lead to the creation of his first dragster. Once again, it relied on Buick power, and trust us when we say this machine was no slouch. It was the quickest gasoline-powered dragster in the nation at the time, going on to reign supreme over the competition at the 1959 U.S. Fuel and Gas Championships. It was only around this time that Tommy Ivo started experimenting with dragsters with multiple engines. His first creation was a twin-engined dragster, equipped with 2 Buick power plants that eventually became the first gasoline-powered dragster to run the quarter-mile in under 9 seconds, and also exceeded the mythical 180-mile-per-hour mark. Ever the showman, Ivo became the first drag racer to travel around the nation with his own nationwide season-long tour in 1960, which gave both himself and the sport some much-needed exposure. Many call him drag racing's first touring professional, a title he more than deserves. Before we start exploring TV Tommy's wildest creation, why not hit that like button and also click subscribe? We've got tons more content about iconic dragsters down the pipeline heading your way. 1961 is when Ivo rolled out what would go on to be his greatest creation. The showboat, as it became known, was a mind-boggling feat of engineering and showmanship that redefined what a dragster could be. Strapping not 1, not 2, but 4 Buick V8 engines to a custom-built dragster frame was a radical concept that was straight out of a sci-fi movie. And Ivo's execution of this wild concept was nothing short of spectacular. The left pair of engines powered the front wheels of the showboat dragster through a Halibrand quick-change center section, while the right pair of V8s drove the rear through a second Halibrand positioned directly behind the driver. With a combined displacement of 1,856 cubic inches and a power output estimated to be well over 2,000 horsepower, the showboat was a brute unlike anything seen before, both in looks and performance. Somewhat ironically, Ivo's acting commitments, which brought him this far in the first place, prevented him from taking the wheel of this monstrous machine, so he entrusted the driving duties to a young Don Prudhomme. The sight of the showboat launching down the track was a spectacle that captivated audiences nationwide in the 60s, with all 4 tires smoking. The showboat seemed more like a billowing cloud of smoke than a dragster as it charged down the strip. In fact, the visibility of the driver behind the wheel was so poor that Ivo joked that his only hope was that the car was pointed straight when the smoke cleared. While the showboat was undeniably a crowd pleaser, the National Hot Rod Association, the governing body of drag racing, was less than enthusiastic about the Frankenstein's monster. Concerned about the potential for a boom in 4-engine dragsters, they ruled out the showboat from competing in any NHRA event, relegating it to exhibition stunts only. Undeterred, TV Tommy Ivo made his mark on the road, continuing his tours around the nation while hauling his 2 show cars in a glass-sided 10-wheeler truck. We're certain that many drag racing enthusiasts who were around by this time would have seen Ivo's antics with the showboat. And if you know someone like this, don't forget to let us know in the comments section. Ivo eventually sold the showboat dragster to one of his crewmen, Tom McCurry, in 1963. But this dragster's run was far from over. McCurry gave it a new lease on life, transforming it into a groundbreaking and now iconic funny car. The transformation began with the addition of a Buick station wagon body on top, a radical departure from the traditional dragster design which it carried up until then. Legendary bodyman Tom Hanna handcrafted the entire engine, complete with a real roof rack and an innovative escape hatch, a feature that would become standard in funny cars in the years that followed. This unique and eye-catching exterior, combined with the powerful and radical four-engine setup, created what would go on to be called the Wagon Master by everyone in the drag racing world, a name that quickly became synonymous with innovation and putting on a darn good show. McCurry would continue to campaign the Wagon Master around North America for another 15 years, and it remained a crowd pleaser even after the funny car movement skyrocketed in popularity as the dominant force in drag racing. Later on, with the addition of a Buick Riviera front clip, the Wagon Master would once again capture the imagination of drag racing enthusiasts, solidifying its status as one of the most iconic and influential vehicles in drag racing history. Tommy Ivo returned to Top Fuel Racing after selling off the showboat dragster, going on to beat Don Gralitz and also becoming the first drag racer to complete the quarter mile in under 7 seconds. The following year saw Ivo go on a tour to England with other prominent racers of the era, including Garlitz and Tony Nancy, where they won the 1964 British Drag Festival. This tour catapulted him to international fame and played a crucial role in Ivo receiving the coveted Drag Racer of the Year award by the NHRA, the same year establishing himself as a certified legend of the sport. 1964 was a hectic year in Ivo's career, as he along with Garlitz became the face of drag racing in the United States. They embarked on an intense match race circuit, facing off an astonishing 72 times at 72 different drag strips in a single season, a feat simply unheard of in the modern era. This grueling schedule required Ivo to log an average of 70,000 miles on the road each year, fulfilling 80 to 100 race dates along the way. His relentless pursuit of competition led him to achieve an extraordinary feat, racing at 8 different drag strips in just 7 days. This relentless pace showcased Ivo's dedication and stamina, cementing his status as one of the most driven and fearless racers of his era. Ivo's exploits weren't limited to gasoline-powered machines either, as he would go on to race funny cars and even a jet-powered dragster later in his career. In 1972, he suffered a horrific crash at 240 miles per hour, but managed to escape unscathed. Ivo and the showboat dragster went on one final farewell tour in 1982, after which he finally hung up his boots. Although 30 years of drag racing had taken its toll on his body, this legendary racer is still going strong, and he got his long overdue introduction to the Motorsports Hall of Fame of America in 2005. Hungry for more videos about legendary figures in America's illustrious drag racing history? Get subscribed now, as we've got tons more content heading your way.